Secretary Patterson. It's good to see you again. Let me, since that issue was the one you were speaking on, and Mr. Deutsch and I have had some discussions about this as well, and you've really led on this issue. What concerns us is twofold. It is not just that for some years now you have a system where basically there's been an inducement to pay human assassins to seek out innocent people and kill them, and then a stipend is given for the time that those individuals serve in custody for their crime. And that stipend is dependent upon the severity of their crime. In other words, the amount per month paid into the fund or going to the family is dependent upon how heinous the crime, how many victims. And in addition, there is, if it's bad enough, you serve enough time, then you're automatically given a position in the Palestinian Authority once you get out. That was the old system. Now, you were before the committee before and were asked about this, and at the time you indicated, well, that is being, what were your words at the time, I think, phased out or something, words to that effect. And that we should, on this, give them more time because they're phasing it out. Let me just share for you and for the committee members here, Mr. Deutsch and others, what we've observed since then. And that is that this process is not only continuing, but rather than the PA make the stipend directly out of the budget, what they have instead done is go to the PLO budget and make a transfer to the PLO for a sum, let's say the original budgeted item for assistance with the Palestinian Authority's prison funding was $8 million. Suddenly it goes up to $140 million. Well, the difference is the sum taken off of the books of the PA, but it's in the same building. The PA Ministry of Prison Adjudication or whatever is the same ministry as the PLO. As a matter of fact, it is the same minister. I believe you'll find that to be the case. So in fact, they weren't phasing it out. What they were simply doing was transferring the entire sum over to the PLO so that that payment could continue to be made. And I think we should, we should understand that besides the fact that the donor community is paying into the Palestinian Authority, and the end result is to create a system to recruit human beings to carry out attacks and then serve their time and be rewarded with a stipend not just for the family, but a retirement afterwards and a job in the Palestinian Authority if it is egregious enough. These are real concerns about how we prepare people to put the foundation down for peace. Second, I want the Europeans to know what's going on. And you're going to have the opportunity to dialogue with Europe about this and other problems. As I shared with Dr. Abbas and Mr. Deutsch shared as well when we were there talking with him about the issue of incitement, it is very, very important that the right foundation be laid for preparing future generations of young Palestinians and young Israelis to live in peace. And surely a system which tries to recruit more girls to do killing because you get an additional stipend if you're a girl, or there's a stipend upon a stipend if you are an Israeli and commit an act against another Israeli. This is a very perverse creation, unbelievably perverse. And I'd like your response there. And second, how did you mean that to be taken by us at the time, by the committee, when you said they're phasing this out, did you know that they were going to simply transfer this to the PLO? And in that sense, they were phasing it off their books, but they weren't phasing it out. They were simply disguising the funding. I wanted to ask you about that.
Well, thank you, Chairman Royce. No, I didn't know that. What I was basing that on was my own discussions with Palestinian members who said they had been phasing it out for financial and the other reasons that you discussed, and I totally agree with you that this is an egregious practice. But let me also stress, Mr. Chairman, that I think our assistance to the Palestinian Authority does many beneficial things in the security, maintaining security and promoting entrepreneurship and promoting better health standards and infrastructure development, and is absolutely essential for the stability in this part of the world. So we will continue to press them on this issue, which I entirely agree with you is an unacceptable one.
Ambassador, basically the donor community is helping the Palestinian Authority basically pay people to slay other people. So here's my point. I want us to use our considerable leverage to end that practice. And second, I would really like the European community, in our dialogue with them, to fully comprehend what's going on in this process of the inducements of paying people to get them to go out and slay other human beings. Can you do that? Can you
Yes,
assure us that both of those
we will certainly
that
take
will be
that
at the
up with
top
our-
of your agenda, at conveying that, so that when the European delegations come in, they'll be asking me as well, what are we doing as members of Congress to end this practice?
No, we will certainly talk to our European colleagues. As a point, another point I'd like to make, Mr. Chairman, none of our money goes to this. It's not fungible in that respect. Our money goes essentially to pay PA Authority debts to Israel and to other creditors. So the budget relief, the budget support that you see in the budget goes to creditors and cannot be diverted to these stipends.
Yeah, but the reality is that the donor community is coming together internationally to fund the Palestinian Authority. Our hope had always been that this would be used for a certain type of textbooks to actually teach kids an education instead of how to hate, for a certain kind of broadcasting that would be inclusive, that would maybe be about political tolerance and about, religious tolerance and laying the foundation for peace, and that also, in terms of the prison system, it might be about rehabilitation instead of creating a system where you're encouraging additional people to go out and commit murder in order later in life to get a position of high authority in the Palestinian Authority itself. And so since the donor community is putting money into that pot in order, in one way or the other, to help the Palestinian people, regardless of how we perceive it, we have to use our leverage to cut this out. And now is the time to do it. And now is the time to have this dialogue, because they've just upped the ante, basically, by now paying people an additional stipend if you commit crimes within Israel, within the borders of Israel. I know they don't recognize borders, because I asked Mr. Abbas that very question, and Mr. Deutsch will remind. I asked him, by the way, where is Israel on your map when we were discussing incitement? And he says, where's your map? Show me your map. Here's the point. We, the donor community, are putting the money in. Let's make sure that it goes to the next generation of young Palestinians having an attitude of wanting to have peace, wanting to negotiate with Israelis, and wanting to do something other than wipe them off the map or slay them. And that's my point.
Mr. Chairman, rest assured that this will be a subject of discussion and with the rest of the donor community. We see Europeans and other donors all the time, and rest assured your points will be conveyed with our full concurrence.
Thank you, Secretary Patterson.
Mr.